Live from Michigan City, Indiana, it's Long Arm TV Live with Jamie Wallen and his special guest, Kimmy Brunner.
Hey, Kim. So
Hey, Kim.
I believe we have the sound all situated. Is that correct, Mr. Ritchie?
Yay!
Yes. Okay, so now they're saying we have sound. Yay! Thank you, thank you. And Kim, you are standing in front of, I think of as one of your iconic famous quilts. Whenever I see that quilt, it's always you I think about.
You know, this is an old quilt, and I know people are kind of getting sick of it, but to me, I look at it and it reminds me of old friends that I don't see anywhere near often enough. And every time I look at it, it just makes me smile. So it's going to hang there for a good long time.
It's beautiful. I love the colors, everything about it. Actually, I look at it and it should be called Kim because it's bright, it's cheery. And by the way, you look amazing.
Thank you very much. I'm relaxed. I'm not running myself ragged on the road. I'm relaxed for once. So yay!
So I'm going to ask this, and this is a little off topic. Is that a cross stitch on the wall behind you?
It is from the days when I was young and my eyes still worked on those little teeny tiny squares. I used to do the lavender and lace cross stitches.
Yep, love those.
When I would put my kids down for naps, they would sleep and I would work on cross stitch until they woke up. So
that's awesome. And I love your dirty clothes hamper.
yeah, it's called a drying rack. You know, you press the fabric, you have to hang it somewhere so it doesn't get dusty and wrinkly. So it's a beautiful fabric rack.
That's awesome. So I want to tell everybody at home that what I think we're going to be doing questions at the end. So if everybody would hold off with their questions, we'll wait until after the tour and your tutorial, and then we can go right to our viewer questions. So, and I see the treadle machine.
It is. I love my treadles. I have one over here that is from 1920, and I just love it because of the beautiful Tiffany lamp-like inset design. And then over here, I've got another one. This one is from 1923, and I love this one because it's got the Egyptian design. This was kind of when mummy craze was going on. King Tut's tomb had been discovered and mummies were really big. So beautiful. This has the Egyptian Sphinx design. I love these. I don't use them, but I do collect them and I absolutely love them. And over here, I have my little featherweight that I do all my piecing on. It's a 1948 Singer featherweight. I love it because it just makes such a pretty, perfect straight stitch. And like I said, I do almost all my piecing on it. It's just a joy to work with. So.
I love those. I think I have 4 of them. I know a wonderful friend of mine from California actually takes the dead ones, refurbishes, and repaints everything. So if you ever want to get a painted one, I'll hook you up.
That would be great because I would love to get a bright, screaming cobalt blue featherweight. I think that would just be so much fun. I like the old shiny black with the gold decals, but I'd really like a blue one. That would be really fun.
That is gorgeous. And I like that quilt behind you, too.
Oh, this one? This, I have a little story about this. My son and daughter-in-law got married, well, just a couple weeks ago. It was their 5th anniversary, and this was supposed to be their wedding quilt. So I'm just a little bit behind schedule, but so I feel like I'm really catching up. Fortunately, I waited long enough after their wedding for them to change their minds, and they decided they really didn't want a bed quilt. They wanted a wall hanging. So I took some of the blocks, made a wall hanging. It's got borders on, and it's ready to quilt, so I feel like I'm really making good progress on that. And the rest of these blocks I'm going to turn into a quilt for Chuck, who is running our camera today. Say hi, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
I love it.
He puts up with a lot from me. he has been behind me every step of the way in my whole quilting journey, and he runs the cameras, he sets up the machines, he fixes machines when I break them. He is just, he has been my rock the whole
I totally
time.
get it. You know, I don't think that many quilt teachers, people that are out there constantly around people, we have to be a little neurotic to do this, and our partners and spouses really have to put up with a lot of stuff. But that's part of the gig. If we didn't have that personality, we wouldn't be doing that. So.
And if we didn't have that backup, we couldn't do it.
We couldn't.
Have to have.
We couldn't.
You have to have your Rich. I have to have my Chuck. We have to have somebody behind us saying, "You can do this. Quit freaking out. Just sit down. You'll be fine."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Chuck, going.
So now I'm seeing the hand-dyed piece there, and
I am working on a Deborah Linker hand-dyed piece. She does absolutely beautiful work, and I'm going to make this into a whole cloth wall hanging. Deborah's hand dyes, she specializes in the gorgeous 8-pointed stars, which leave you just so much space.
She's amazing.
Templates to kind of lay out a design that will show off her work and kind of bring out the various colors. I want to figure something out that will show this gorgeous blue in the center. I want to highlight these really cool purple spikes and really accentuate this gorgeous golden yellowy orange at the tips of the star points. So I'm just playing with my templates and laying out my design. Doing something like this allows me kind of the best of both worlds. I get to play with templates and play with fabric, and it's all the best. I love it.
And I have to say, because I don't want you tooting your horn, because I toot your horn all the time in my classes with your templates.
Thank you.
Your templates are incredible. Absolutely wonderful. Can you kind of walk us through what you have available?
Sure. I have everything from a really tiny little straight ruler that allows you to get into those little tight spots and do nice straight line work. This was my first template, and this one was designed by Carol Selipek, who is Eleanor Burns's cousin.
Yes.
And I know that you know Carol. She is hilarious.
She's a treasure.
And if you've ever bought a book by Eleanor Burns, you've seen Carol's long arming. And in fact, Carol won the first Excellence in Long Arming Award at Paducah. So she's really a pioneer in our industry. And this ruler was hers, and she gave it to me and said, "Here you go, do something with it." So this is Carol's ruler that turned into my ruler, but it's still Carol's ruler. And then I have a set of circles, which I love because I can quilt inside the circle or outside the circle.
Your circles, let me interrupt. I will say this. Your circles nested for the long arm are the only nested circles I will ever suggest to use on the long arm. I love the width is perfect and not dangerous. Yep.
They are a manageable size and a sturdy thickness. They don't break, they don't flex too much. You set them down and they stay put. And I love that let me get a medium one. I love not having too many marks on my rulers, so I just have crosshairs on this ruler. So you can put it down right in the middle of your square and know that your design is going to be lined up.
What do you like to use on the back for no slip? I see little dots.
These are the little sandpaper dots.
Okay.
You can get them from, this brand is Dritz. I love the sandpaper dots, and I also love the Handy Quilter no slip grip. It's similar to skateboard grip.
The Handy grip. Yeah, I love those.
The Handy grip, yep. It's a little bit bigger on the ruler, so that would work great for a big template if you need a bigger grip to hold things in place. The smaller rulers like these, I like to use these little tiny dots because they don't get in my way. I don't want to have to try to peer around the dot to see where I'm stitching. I just want to have enough grip on there to keep the ruler from moving, but not so much grip that I can't see where I'm going.
Excellent.
So I love those little dots. And then I have my melon templates. I know you love my melons.
I love your melons.
I know you do. I had to get that in there before you could get that in there. And I have a set of Melon Templates that has 6 rulers in the package. Big one with a center.
Yep.
Medium.
That's my favorite. Love that.
Center.
Yep.
This one. And then the small one is at my machine. We're going to be using that in a few minutes. This is the center of the small one. You like the medium the best. I love the small the best. That's the one that I use more than really anything else. I use that all the time because the curve is just so perfect.
Oh, the curve is amazing. And the whole set. I love the whole set, but I will say those, I always have that near my machine.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I always use it near my machine as well. They are awesome. They're very handy for lots of different things. So I love them.
So, okay, so, and then that's the packaging for them. So I'm looking around your studio. Here's the other question I have. Like, your studio is immaculate. Is that normal?
You know, it kind of is. I have a little bit of ADD, and I find that it's very easy for me to get off track and not stay focused on the task at hand. When I'm creating a quilt, I want everything out. I want all of the fabric out. I want all of the thread out. I want to just see everything so that I can put together a really nice project. But I find that for me, if I leave my stuff out, then I often become paralyzed. I just stop and look at the fabrics that I didn't choose. Maybe I should have chosen that blue. Maybe I should have used purple instead. Maybe this is all wrong. And I stop working on what I'm supposed to be working on, and I just think about the choices that I didn't make instead of the choices that I did make. And it's the same with my quilting. Once I get my quilting design worked out, I don't want to see my templates. I don't want to see my thread. I just want to see what I'm going to use for the task at hand so that I stay focused on the task at hand. So, like I said, for me, I've just found that it's easier to stay on task if I clean up the mess, if I just keep out the things that I need to keep out and put everything else away. Otherwise, I never get anything done.
That's my problem. Yep.
It kind of is always this clean. I'm sorry to say I'm embarrassed. Sorry.
No, that's wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
Sorry.
That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So now I know, because I've seen pictures, I know you have this amazing cabinet. And I think, did Chuck make it, you and Chuck, from 2 dressers?
I did. This is part of my quilt stash storage. All this is
I love that.
Short dressers that we found at a thrift shop. And Chuck cut the legs off so that they would be the same height. And we put them back to back with a space in between for storage of my pressing pads and squirt bottles and various things. And then we put a layer of plywood on the top and wrapped that plywood in an old wool blanket and then just wrapped muslin over it so I can use it as my pressing surface. When the muslin gets too dirty from too many applications of scorched starch, then I just put another layer of muslin on it. So it's really, really thick because there's really a lot of layers on there, but this thing works like a charm. It's wide enough for me to be able to press the whole 44 inches of yardage. So I can just throw things on there, press them up, works like a charm. And in drawers is, of course, fabric.
Ooh, yum.
I arrange my fabric because I'm OCD. I arrange it by color. So when I open this drawer, I know I'm going to see all my reds. When I open this drawer, it's going to be pinks into purples, purples into blues. The other side has a lot of greens and black and whites and holiday prints and kids prints. And it's not all my stash, but it's some of my stash.
I was going to say, boy, to save me from Rich, that better not be all your stash, because he'll say, that's all you need.
No. You need way more fabric than that.
That's
way
right.
more.
That's right. Awesome. So could you take us into your other studio?
Sure thing. The room that you just saw was my sewing room and my pressing room and my design layout room with my design wall. This is my quilting room, and this is where my fun stuff starts. I have the dog resting area. That's one of my boys. We have 2, Huckleberry, who's somewhere around here, and that's little Finn, who is 1 year old.
Aw, what a sweetie.
And this is the machine that I use for my edge-to-edge work. It's an Infinity, 26 inches wide, The reason that I like doing edge to edge on this is because it has so much workspace, and I can do a couple of passes at once, get the quilt finished a little bit faster.
So I'm going to ask this real quick, and I do want to throw this in. I know obviously you're an amazing teacher, you are an amazing piecer, you are an amazing quilter, but I don't think a lot of people know that you are also a handy quilter dealer. Is that correct?
I am, as are you. We are both retailers.
We are both retailers, and of course both of us kind of agree with the same thing. We love all machines, you know, because you know nobody's a machine snob in our group, which I love. We just want people sewing and quilting.
Yes.
And also, so you use that primarily for your computer work. Now,
I do.
Do you do any freehand work on that?
Most of my freehand work is done on my Amara, which is the machine that I will be using today to show you a border design with templates. You can certainly do freehand work with the Infinity. I just find that it's more efficient to do my computerized work on the Infinity. The Amara is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit, it weighs a little bit less because its throat is about 6 inches shorter. And that means that I can work on it for hours and hours and hours doing intense micro stippling or close-up template work without beating up my shoulders and upper back and neck. Because after, I mean, I've been doing this for 23 years, and after all those years of micro stippling, your body starts to wear out. So you want to choose a machine that is not going to beat you up, but is going to work with you while you're trying to do your cool stitching.
Absolutely. Do you sit in quilts or do you stand?
I do. If I'm doing templates, I stand so that I'm looking straight down at the workspace. But if I'm micro stippling, I have a tall office chair. I pull up that office chair, rest my elbows on the belly bar, and I just sit and stipple, and I work for hours. Because if I'm sitting and I'm at the right height and my machine is light, there's nothing that hurts, and I can just keep going and going.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So you want to see the rest of my fabric stacks?
You know I want to see all that stuff.
No, come on. This is a quilt rack that Chuck built for me so that I would have a place to store all of my class samples.
Wow.
Because as a teacher, you know how, like right before a show, we are just stressed out train wrecks, and we have so many things that we have to try and organize and gather together. I got sick and tired of having to go and look in various places for my class samples. I just wanted them to be all in one place so I could walk up and just start grabbing samples. So Chuck put this together for me so that all my samples can be in one place, and I can just come up and grab them, stick them in a suitcase, and be ready to go.
That's beautiful. We need a pattern for that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. These bolts just come right out, pull out and off. Whoops, and then they all fall on the floor. On the dog. No, that was Huckleberry who just got terrified. Sorry, Huck.
He doesn't look that scared to me.
I think he's going to be fine. So behind me is my thread storage. I like to keep my thread in cupboards because it stays out of the light so it doesn't fade. It doesn't get any dust on it. My thread just lasts a lot longer if I keep it enclosed in a cupboard. And then all of these Rubbermaid bins are various projects in process. We won't talk about how long they've been in process. Thank you very much. And that cupboard right over there is where my customer quilts are stored. I do still quilt for customers, and I like to keep my customer quilts, like my thread, out of the sunlight, away from any place where they can get dusty or dirty. So all the customer quilts go in there where they're nice and safe.
Fantastic. And is that on your website if they wanted to get a hold of you for doing customer quilting? Okay.
Yep. You can go to my website, and there is a page for long arm custom quilting.
So now that I have you here, so before we go to the thread, so what is your turnaround time for edge to edge?
Edge to edge is pretty fast. Custom is obviously takes a little bit more time.
Of course.
Because, I mean, you know how it is. You get going on a customer or a custom quilt, and that thing can be on your machine for a month while you try to figure out how to do it. So. And
teaching and traveling and running Houston, because you've been also teacher coordinator for the long arms for Houston for many years now. and doing fabulous, by the way.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yep.
This year will be an interesting year. We'll have to see what happens.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so let's see this thread.
Let's see what?
The thread. I can't wait to see your thread. That's almost as good as the fabric.
Come to my lair. I have multiple cupboards all filled with all of my threads, and I love them all. My two favorites are So Fine by Superior, and then it's a tie between Magnifico by Superior and Glide by Hab & Dash. I just love those threads. I use everything. I use silk, and I use metallic, and I use 100% cotton, but those are really my favorites. I love those. And
you actually use micro quilter, is that correct?
I do. Yep, I do. It's a wonderful thread for doing intense, like micro stippling, because it's as fine as silk, but because it's 100% poly, it's very forgiving. So you get stretch instead of snap, which is really nice.
So teacher question that I have for you to teach me. So what do you like in your bobbin when using the micro quilter and the silk?
Both of them, well, I shouldn't say both of them. For the micro quilter, I like to pair that with a pre-wound bottom line, which is by Superior. And no, I don't sell Superior or work for Superior, I'm just saying. I find that the pre-wound bottom line has perfect tension all the way through the bobbin. I love that. It's a very lightweight thread. It is 80 weight, and the micro quilter is 100 weight, so they're very similar in weight. They pair nicely together. It's easy to get good tension. And both of them you can quilt very heavily without ending up with a super stiff quilt that stands in a corner by itself.
Wonderful. Okay.
With silk, I like YLI makes a bobbin thread called Whisper Touch, and it's similar to bottom line in that it is very thin, very soft. And Whisper Touch also works well with like a metallic thread. My favorite metallic is by YLI. It's called Fine Metallic. It's a beautiful, soft, not scratchy metallic, and it pairs very nicely with the Whisper Touch.
Oh, and that comes in a green that I just absolutely love.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, I have not used the Whisper Touch. I'll have to try that. That sounds wonderful.
Give it a try.
Okay, wonderful. So, and then you have your pegboard, of course, the infamous pegboard that we all have.
I know, we all have it, don't we? My pegboard, I like to keep my stuff on my pegboard because I find that it's really important to have your templates out where you can see them, because otherwise you forget that you have them.
Sure.
And we all go to quilt shows and we spend way too much money on templates. There's no point in coming home and just shoving them in a cupboard and never seeing them again.
Yes.
You want to see what you got, so you use what you got. So I keep everything out on the pegboard, so I see it and I use it.
Wonderful. Wow, what a great studio. Love it, love it.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a nice place to be. So now how many machines do you have? The long arms?
Well, I have 3, and 2 of them are set up right now. I have my Infinity with Pro Stitcher. I have my Amara, which we'll be working on in just a minute. That also has Pro Stitcher. And then in the other room, not set up, because I ran out of room in here, is an Avante, also with Pro Stitcher. And that Avante is from, I want to say, 2008. And it has more miles on it than you can even imagine, and it's like a Timex watch. It takes a licking and it keeps on ticking. It stitches like a dream.
They are workhorses.
They are total workhorses.
Yep.
I love the machine.
Absolutely. So can we check out the second machine that you have set up?
Sure.
Ooh, love the mirror. Oh, that makes it totally open in there. You know, Linda Hirschkin and I were talking about, I don't know if you saw that episode, but we were talking about light in our basement and closed-in areas.
Yes. And when we first moved into this house, we knew that this was going to be my work area. And this is the basement, the lowest level of our house. I have one window in my sewing room, but the light really doesn't reach this room. You can see a little bit of a view, but really for all intents and purposes, there is no window in this room. And I knew, as you guys talked about the other day, it can be very challenging to work in a basement and to not have any natural light, especially once you really get into your quilting. You're down here for 12 hours a day quilting like crazy. You start getting depressed when there's no natural light.
Absolutely.
And we right away that we were going to have to do something to make this room lighter and brighter, because otherwise it was going to be like quilting in a dungeon.
Yep.
So that whole wall is a huge storage closet, and I knew that if I put up wooden doors on my closet, it was going to be super dark, super dreary, super gloomy in this basement, and I didn't want that. So drawing from my interior design, I knew that anytime that you put a mirror in a room, it reflects light back into the room, and it increases the feeling of light in that room.
And space.
So mirror doors.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that idea. I need some of that.
Yeah, it works like a charm. It throws so much, those doors throw so much light into this room, you wouldn't even believe it. Without them, it would be a dungeon.
Sure. Wonderful.
So, ready to do some quilting?
I would love to.
Awesome. Come on in. We're going to start. I'm going to show you a stitched version of the design, and I'm going to show you the design path and the templates that I used, and then I'll show you how to stitch it out using those templates. We'll start down here in this space. This is the border that I'm going to be filling, and I just need a couple of very simple marks. My marks today have been done in black Sharpie marker, but that's not what I recommend that you mark your quilt with. Usually when I'm marking, I will use white chalk pencil because it comes out. Sharpie marker, not so much. But white chalk pencil is not going to show on camera, so that's why we have Sharpie. This is a 4-inch border, and I'm going to start with these little tick marks that are 4 inches apart. 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, all the way along the top. Don't forget one coming down the side. These first 2 marks are 8 inches out from the corner. So from here to here is 8 inches, from here to here is 8 inches, and then these marks are 4 inches apart. At the bottom of the border, I have more 4-inch marks. Here, here, and here. These marks are staggered from the top marks. So here's a mark, 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 all the way to the end. I also need a miter line in the corner to help me line up my corner design, and I need a midline right down the center of my space. This is a 4-inch border, 1, 2, 3, 4, so my midline is marked at 2 inches. And then the last set of marks is a little tick mark straight down on the midline from these outer tick marks. Here, 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 all the way along. That's all the marks that I need. To stitch this design out, I'm going to need 3 templates. A small melon or an arc. Just need something with a gentle, curvy shape. Not super tight and curvy like a circle, but a smooth, long curve. You're going to need a medium circle and a small circle. Our first path I stitched in black. We're going to start here, and using the melon or arc, we're going to stitch from here up to here, into the corner, up and down, up, down, all the way to the end. We're going to stop with our needle down. We're not going to end our stitching line because now we're just going to shift templates and we're going to come back. The second stitching line I stitched in red, so you would see this is a different stitching line. This time we'll use our medium circle. Stitch from here, up and over to here. Shift the template, up and over. Shift the template, up and over. Shift it again, up and over. And shift it one more time, up and over, back to where you started. Once again, you stop with your needle down, but do not break your thread, because now we're just going to set aside that medium circle, and we're going to grab the small circle. And this time we're going to stitch up and over. Our stitching line is just going to brush that midline and down. Stop with your needle down, reposition your template, up and over, just brush that midline, and down, up and over, up and over, up and over. Now you end your stitching line. So we came out, back, and out. We end here. Now we're going to come back, still using the small circle. We're going to go to this tick mark on the midline. We're going to position our circle so that we can stitch 3/4 of the way around. From this tick mark, up, over, and around, into the center, or into the corner, sorry. Stop the needle down. Reposition our circle, up, over, and down to the midline. Stop with your needle down, reposition, half circle, up and over, up and over, up and over. And the very last thing we're going to do, we end our stitching line here. Because this is all pretty full, we need to do something in this corner so that this isn't just flopping there. It needs to be equally full with the rest of our border so that it stays consistent and it lays flat. So we're going to go back to our melon template. We're going to position it so that we can stitch from the inside corner to the outside corner and back to the inside corner. And it's done. Want to see me stitch that out?
I would love it, and I have to say that is gorgeous, and I love that you have so many options to go into those areas and do some amazing fill work. That's fabulous, Kim.
And I will show you in a few minutes some examples of things that I have done with this border, so you can see that you can leave it bare or you can fill it with all kinds of stuff.
That's beautiful.
So before I stitch, I want to talk about, and this is not a sales commercial. I am using a template foot. And this template foot, as you can see, it's a high collar foot. This is the Handy Quilter version. It's called a sure foot. It keeps you from hopping that template, and it makes template work safer and more secure. So no matter which type of machine that you have, if you have access to a template foot, buy that template foot, because it will make quilting with templates a whole lot easier. It will increase your chances of success and greatly decrease the likelihood that you are going to hop a template, crash into it with your needle, and possibly knock your timing out.
Amen.
So I'm a big believer in, I'm a big believer in using the correct tool for the job, and in this case, a template foot is the correct tool for the job. So let's get started. I'm sorry if my hand gets in your way for a second. I'm just going to start my stitching line here in the corner. Bring up my thread.
Now you have the Pro Stitcher.
I do. I have a Pro Stitcher
on that machine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say this because, again, I love all machines, but the one thing that really sold me on the computerized system on the Handy Quilter was the fact that I could run freehand on my computer machine and it felt exactly the same as not having a computer system on my machine. And I do want to throw that in because I do love that for those that are looking for a second machine, or for those not as a machine plug, but I love that about the machine. I love a lot of different things about different machines, but boy, on the Handy Quilter, that was a big selling point for me.
Same for me. And as long as you turn off your gears so that your Pro Stitcher is not engaged, this machine just glides the same as it would if there weren't a computerized system on it.
Yep.
And I know what you mean. Some of the, I'm not going to bash brands, some of the brands, it can be more difficult to turn those gears on and off, and you really feel the weight of the computer. Yeah. That's going to get in your way if you want to do a lot of freehand work. So if you're buying a machine, make sure you choose something that allows you to do everything that you're going to do.
I agree. All right.
Okay, so I've anchored my stitches here in the corner, and I'm using my melon or art template. I'm going to stitch from this corner to this tick mark, and I'm not going to stitch up and over this melon because that will round my top. So I'm just going to position my melon so that I can stitch from here to here and stop, and then reposition my template and stitch from here to here. That's going to give me a nice sharp point at the top, and that's what I want. I don't want a round top. So I'm just going to position it. Easy to position at the set or at the beginning because your needle is down. But up here, let me get my scissors and use it as a pointer. I need my template to be 1/4 of an inch away from where I want my needle to hit, because my hopping foot keeps my needle 1/4 of an inch away from my template. So make sure that you space that template properly. And I'm just going to stitch up. And I'm going to stop right at the point. I'm going to reposition my template and I will stitch down to the inside corner. Once again, I'm positioning my template so it's 1/4 inch away from my stopping point. Come down and stop with my needle down. The reason that I stop with my needle down is because it prevents my machine from rolling around while I'm repositioning my template. Stitch up to this tick mark. Stop, reposition, and down. And I want you to take a look. I spoke a few minutes ago about buying a template foot if you can get one. See how high this collar is? It's right up against my template, and it really prevents my needle from having any opportunity to whack my template. That's why you want a template foot.
And I will add, a lot of machine companies will tell people you can use our regular foot to do ruler work, and I'm a no-go. I agree with you 100%. You gotta have that sure foot if you have the handy quilters.
Yep. Technically, you can use a regular foot. You just have to be much more careful, and you have to know that there's kind of you're adding that element of danger to your quilting. You just don't know if you're going to smack into something that you don't want to smack. So because I already showed you the whole stitch out, I'm just going to do a couple of repeats so you get the hang of it. I am putting my template next to my hopping foot, but I am not shoving my template into the hopping foot. If you are shoving it into your hopping foot, all you're going to do is push yourself off course. You don't need to use your superpowers. You just need to have your hopping foot touching the template, and as long as it's touching the template will keep you on track and help you put your stitches right where they need to be. So you just place your template next to the hopping foot and stitch down quickly. So now I will stop.
And Kim, before you go on, would you do me a favor? Would you put the melon ruler back?
I will.
Yeah, I want everybody to see, because that is, when there's a ruler I love, I love that ruler. And the way that you hold it, when you were holding it like that, it's so comfortable to hold and use. And again, that is, for those of you that are looking for templates, that is a set of rulers that you would just absolutely love. Absolutely love that set.
Thank you. I love it too. I love something that's big enough for me to put my hand on. So now we're going to switch to medium circle, and I'm just going to stitch up and over from point to point. Back to where I started. And now I will switch to my small circle. I'm going to position it so I just stitch up and over, barely brush that midline. Barely brush it. Come down to the corner. Reposition it. Once again, I'll barely brush. Up, over, and down. Continue on with this template. I'll just end my stitching line here so we can go to the next, next pass. But before I do that, I want to show you at this point, when we first stitched our arches, we didn't do any of the circle work, we just had our arches. You can stitch those arches and be done at that point. And you can come up with a design that looks like this.
Gorgeous.
This was a test piece that I did, and I was experimenting with fills. I filled these two with curved cross hatching, and I thought, you know what, that's cool, but that's really not what I'm looking for. So then I stitched this design with an open diamond space in the center, and I thought this looked way better than these did. So this was the design I ended up using on my quilt because it just looked nicer than the other ones did. So if in doubt, draw it out, and if still in doubt, stitch it out to see how it looks before you put it on a quilt. Because you can, if these don't look good, you can toss a sample piece. You really can't toss your whole quilt. Right. You can also double up. These are 2 passes.
Oh, yum.
Of the points, and the passes just overlap. Here's one arch, and here's another arch. So they overlap one another and are offset in these cool, I thought they were very pretty, curvy diamond shapes.
Yes.
And with Derwent Inktense pencil and a glittery, shimmery textile medium to seal it. So I just wanted to play with that on a test piece to see if I was going to like it before I put it on a quilt. And I did this because I really am horrible at applique. I wanted a quilt pattern that looked applique without the applique. So this was...
And you know what? It's very European. And you travel to Europe a lot, right?
I do. I go to Europe a lot, both for vacation and working for Handy Quilter. I spent a lot of time in Europe. And I like these almost cloister-like designs. It's very similar to what you see in cathedrals. In the great churches in England and all over Europe. So this was kind of a way of bringing my vacations home with me.
Beautiful.
And my next example is you can take this design and turn it into this design by just changing around some of the placement and some of the rulers that you use. This is just an overlapping set of arcs filled with different shapes that I created by using templates. So remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. If you come up with a cool design, just kind of twist it and see what else it will do. So this is that with a twist.
Fantastic. All right.
And the last pass of quilting starts here with the tick mark on the midline. Going to use small circle again. I'm going to stitch up and over and down to the corner. So I'm going to position it so I end right there. Stop with my needle down. Now I will stitch up and over to here. Stop with your needle down and up and over. And there you go. At the very end, you just come in with your melon template, stitch out to the corner and back into the corner, and you're done. So let me show you one more example of what you can do when this design is finished. Let me get my machine out of the way. This looks pretty cool by itself, but remember, as we talked about earlier, you can come in and fill those spaces in with all kinds of freehand work. This is a Halloween whole cloth that I did a couple years ago using just El Cheapo vinyl from Joann's clearance table. I stitched this design out on here and then just filled it in with thread. It was Halloween time. I was watching the Mummy movies and I really wanted kind of an Egyptian feel, so I just came in and filled with purple and green thread, lots of orange. This open space up here is this space here. This arch here is that arch there.
Wow.
These kind of banana shapes are right there. So remember, this is just your starting point. You can jump off and do whatever you want after that. The only thing that holds you back is your imagination.
I love it. That is so wonderful.
Hey, it was fun.
Okay, so let me hit you with a few questions from me, and then we'll move to questions from our wonderful quilting friends. So,
awesome.
Number one, do you teach in your studio?
Now that COVID is or at least here in Minnesota now, we're having some relaxing of our our regulations. So I will start doing some classes in my studio as soon as it's safe for everybody.
Right. Right. So at that point, though, you will be doing some teaching in your classroom. And I'm assuming that it groups of, what's the max amount of students that you want to have in your studio? If, say, a group of ladies want to come, or gentlemen, I should say.
Probably just 4, I think, would be the safest for now.
Okay. Okay.
And again, I will be guided by our regulations here in Minnesota.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the way we have to do it at this point. Now, also, are you getting near doing, I know that you used to do some of the online teaching companies that would do some stuff, and I know some of those aren't active anymore. Are you going to be doing any computer online classes?
You know, I probably will. Hopefully, shows will come back very soon. But in the meantime, we need to find a different way to teach our students. People still want to learn to know, they still want to learn to quilt, and I still want to teach them to quilt. So I will work something out so that I can still keep doing what I love and students can still keep coming to me for instruction. And hopefully then we'll all be back at quilt shows before you know it.
Absolutely. You know, I think things are going to change forever. I think this is just, and I tell you what, I think we've all gotten a taste of being at home too. And I think that that's really kind of the wave of the future, is to be at home and to have your dogs, haha, right?
Because yeah. I love my dog.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to be able to teach. Yeah, I agree. Well, Kim, this has been absolutely incredible. We are, before we go to the questions, I want to remind everybody that we are going to put up all of Kim's links so that you can contact her for her tools, for her teaching, for education, as well as for her quilting. Pardon me?
It'll be on the remaster.
And that's going to be available on the remaster. So tonight we'll remaster it with all of the information. We'll put some inserts in there and we'll have that. So let's go to some questions here. Let me see. Do we have some questions from everybody? I know we've been pretty detailed on everything that we've been showing. And I can see now why everybody says you're such an awesome teacher. You're so,
thanks.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking. Lots of hellos.
Hi, everybody.
Orlando, Ohio, South Carolina. Colleen, she has the melons and circles. Yeah, Colleen, I love, yep. Nothing. You did well. They have no questions for you right now.
Well, and I want to know why everybody is inside on such a beautiful day. Get out there and work in your gardens.
Website.
So just verbally, and we will post a link. Let me see. One of the questions is, what's Kim's website?
Kimmyquilt.com. KIMMYQUILT.com.
Wonderful. And also, could you please show the pin cushion on your machine?
Oh, it's the bee. I bought this probably 20 years ago. Don't have a pattern for it, but it's just a bee with a Velcro strap and eyelet wings, and I stab him regularly with all of my massage pins.
Okay.
So, yes.
Tina, what do you find is the hardest to quilt, i.e. material-wise?
The hardest to quilt for me is vinyl or leather. I started quilting leather in probably, oh, Chuck, when did I make you your first iPad cover? Probably 2010, 2009, a long time ago. You have to be super precise when quilting those fabrics because you can't rip your stitches up. The needle holes don't close up. So with those fabrics, you need to kind of really plan your design out really well and stick with it because you can't make mistakes.
Do you use a leather needle when you quilt on those types of fabrics?
A size 20 sharp.
Okay.
And if it's a thinner leather or vinyl, and if it's a, Chuck is a deer hunter, and we have just like literally tons of deer leather. When it's a thicker tan leather, sometimes I need to punch through it with a size 20.
Got it. Okay. So, Maya, do you ever change your mind on a design once you get started?
Oh God, all the time. Are you
Yep.
kidding? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then whether I change the design or just change my mind and cuss about it the rest of the quilt kind of depends. It depends on how many repeats of that design I've already stitched. I mean, if I've already done a whole border, I am not going to rip it out. I will just stand and swear for the rest of the quilt, and that quilt will live happily ever after with the wrong border.
That's
But
right.
yeah, all the time I change my mind.
So, Vanessa, we have another question. What needle, and I know you answered this, but could you repeat it? What needle do you use for quilting on vinyl specific?
A sharp needle, not a ballpoint, a sharp. Either size 18 or size 20, depending on the thickness of the leather or vinyl.
Same thing for faux suede, I would say, because that's what I've used for faux suede, Vanessa. Is that correct? Is that your opinion as well, Kim?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. A sharp. Yep.
And how about for Diane, what needle do you use for Petites?
I use ballpoint for pretty much everything that is not leather and vinyl. I love ballpoint. They have cut down my shredding and my breakage and my skip stitches. When you switch to ballpoints, you really don't ever switch back. So,
Really? Okay,
yeah,
see, I haven't been doing that, and I've heard a few people say that. I'm gonna
you
have
want.
to try that.
Yep. Kelly Klein got me going on ballpoints, and boy, she was right. She told me I'd love them, and I love them.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I've heard. I've heard that from her as well. So now that you're saying that that's it, I just thought, and so I think sharp, get through there, get through there. So,
no, ballpoint.
okay.
Ballpoint.
All right.
Size 18 or 16.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, my dear. You have an
Thank you.
amazing week. Take care of yourself. And
Thanks so much for having me on, Jamie. It's been really fun.
my dear, I love you to the moon and back. You know that. So thank you.
And bye, Rich. You have a great weekend, too.
And Chuck, thank you so much. And when you finish with that t-shirt, I want it.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Well, isn't that incredible? She was fabulous. So we've had Linda Hershko and we have had Kim Brunner. Now in our next season, we're going to have some more special guests and we're going to do some more studio tours. But this was a wonderful end to this particular season. Now we're going to be moving into just our regular quilt tutorials coming up here. So you're not going to miss out. We're still going to continue trying to throw out one tutorial a week for folks right now. But we don't want everybody to get sick of us, so that's why we're going to kind of do this in season sort of thing. And I appreciate everybody showing up. Let me look and make sure that we don't have any more. I know, Diane, right? Ballpoint needles. I'm the same way, but I keep hearing it. I hear it from Kelly and I hear it from Kim all the time. And I've just been like old school. It's hard to break out of old habits, but I think I'm going to try it because it does make sense. And I've heard that no shredding thing. So who knew? We'll give it a shot. Well, and you are all very welcome. Absolutely.
So apologize, or you want me to?
Let me see. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I agree, Vanessa. That was beautiful. And thank you, Betty Jo. Appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Sorry about the no sound at the beginning. There was a software upgrade with the software we use, and it's first time we use Skype for an interview. So we had 3 days ago had done a test. Everything worked fine. Then they did a software upgrade, so I'm guessing that caused the issue. So in the remastered version, we will get that corrected best we can, so there isn't that long pause. But from what I see, the rest of the interview went off without a hitch. So.
Yep. So there we go. Hey, it's part of the live thing, and you just kind of go with it. And I have to say, I'm so fortunate because Rich, I have yet to find anything that Rich can't fix. So he's incredible, and I always want to thank him for everything that he does, which is pretty much everything. If it wasn't for Rich, I wouldn't be here. So, all right, everybody, know you're loved. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other, and we'll see you down the road.